Welcome, dear viewers, to our international discussion on the Creative Society platform. And before we introduce our special guests, we would like to announce a very important and truly historical event that you cannot miss.
Yes, unprecedented event will take place on May 7th. The international online forum Global Crisis. We are people, we want to live. Volunteers and specialists from all over the world are going to voice the truth about the current state of affairs in the world, how extreme climatic events are happening and growing in numbers and severity. Every month and every week, a new anti-record is being broken. Where does it all lead, and how to avoid the worst? All answers will be given on May 7th, so please join us online and let everyone know on your social media. The more people know about it, the better it is for all of us, for all of our humanity, because only together we can make a change, do the right choices, and make a real difference.
Yes, indeed. And participants of Creative Society project, people from 180 countries of the world, are preparing now to this significant event. And since it will be translated into more than 100 languages, we are looking for interpreters in all the languages, including the minority and regional languages. Please contact us on info@creativesociety.com. And if you would like to be an info and media partner of this significant forum, please contact us as well. But today we have a discussion about the previous conference, Global Crisis, Time for the Truth, that was taking place on December the 4th last year. And brave people announced really amazing information, important information, and presented it to the entire humanity. And our guests today are Zahraa Muhammad, Arabic entrepreneur who also interpreted the previous conference, Global Crisis, Time for the Truth, from Egypt. Hello, Zahraa.
Hello, and thank you for having me.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. And also we have a second guest from Sudan, Badraldin Ali Bashir Alnur. He is lecturer at University of Khartoum, Faculty of Geographical and Environmental Sciences. Welcome, and thank you for being with us today.
Happy to have you with us, Badraldin. So, Zahraa, you are the person who really makes a difference and makes it possible for people from all over the world to get to know this vital information in their own native language. Dear Zahraa, could you please share with us what motivates you for doing this simultaneous interpreting for the previous conference?
Well, I'm absolutely honored to take part in such a noble humanitarian cause as Global Crisis, Time for the Truth. When I first heard of the conference, I felt that would be a great opportunity for me to practice simultaneous interpretation. However, on the day of the conference, some devastating and painful facts about climate refugees have been revealed that made my heart stand on end. As an interpreter, I had to control my emotions. I had to hold back my tears so that I can continue the interpretation and convey the message accurately. It was a roller coaster of emotions. It was devastating. It was painful. It was disappointing. And it was satisfying at the same time. It was devastating to know that on the other part of the world, there is a female climate refugee who's been trafficked 17 times. I've never thought about that before. I've never even imagined that one day in my life I would hear these horrible facts. On the other hand, I felt satisfied because as an interpreter, I acted as a channel of transferring these vital information to your community. I mean, you help to inform your community that on the other part of the world, there are some people who go through all kinds of suffering. As we all watched over the past few weeks, the painful facts about the internally displaced people in Syria who were badly hit by the coldest temperature ever. sub-zero temperature. Snow covered the camps that hosted these families, and children were without their winter clothes in the middle of the storm. Their situation is worse than ever. They already have their suffering, and climate change puts an extra burden on these communities. In creative society, we are all united in one goal, which is the value of human life. So creative society invites all people from all walks of life to join and participate in the upcoming forum in May to help raise the awareness about the impending threats of climate change. Our collaboration and solidarity are more important than ever. We need to act together to alleviate the suffering of millions of people around the world and to preserve their dignity. And here I'd like to say that there is nothing more important and there's nothing more impressive than giving back to your community in times of crises. And here I would like to recall Martin Luther King, who once said that not everyone can be famous, but everyone can be great, because greatness is determined by service. You only need a heart full of grace and a soul generated by love. So I'm super excited that I'm a member of a group of people who unite together for the best advantage of humanity. Creative society inspired me. It was an eye-opener and a life-changing experience. Thank you.
Zahraa, thank you very much. And indeed, we live in the times of great challenges, but this is the time, exactly this time, for the heroes, for great people such as you and all the people who participated in the preparation of the previous conference, to our amazing entrepreneurs who made it possible to convey this valuable information, to informing people across the globe about these important issues in Arabic language. And thank you very much for this indeed heroic action. It's such a pleasure to see you not behind the screen, but just to see you here in front of our eyes, because you are the people who make it possible. And Badraldin took as well part in this event, in the conference Global Crisis, Time for the Truth, as an eyewitness. And Badraldin shared what he observed in his home country, what is he observing now, and how climate is affecting, indeed, people's life already. So, Badraldin, I would like to ask you, what does it mean to you to be a part of the Worldwide Initiative Creative Society, to be a part of the international conference?
In this essential event. Really, I am from Sudan, and I would like to also highlight some issues regarding climate change and how the climate change also affects our people's livelihoods, particularly in rural areas where people depend or constructed their livelihoods from the economy, from the environment, and how they are affected by the impact of the climate change. And it's really it's high time to notice that the people of Sudan are suffering from the climate change impact in several parts of the country, particularly those who are practicing agriculture, and also people who are caring about the livestock. They are really suffer from the impact of the climate change, and we can see this. We can see some witnesses of the impact of climate change, the forced migrations that we have in our country. So many people flee to the capital, Khartoum, from different parts of the country. According to latest data from, for instance, the UNHCR in Sudan, and also IOM, International Organization of Migration, they reported that there is 3 million IDPs who flee from different parts of the country to the main cities in Sudan due to drought, due to fluctuations also in rainfall, and also due to scarcity of the natural resources in their place of origins. So climate really has a huge impact on the eastern and also western part of the country. And these incidents, we could feel it even in our livelihoods. So as I have been mentioned in the last conference, the flood in the White Nile state in the Jabalain area also affect people everyday life, and also they experience this climate impact differently. They have their own coping mechanism or strategies to cope with climate change. But we need more collaborations and global efforts just to combat this issue. And it's really a global issue. We can all just do a good things in order to reduce the impact of climate change, particularly for those who are in middle and low-income countries, because they are most of the people who are suffering from the climate change. And meanwhile, they are producing less energy, and also their manufacture is not like the developed country. So the creative society also empower us, the people who from a developing country, just to speak out, and also to be a voiceless people, to speak about the international crisis such as climate change, and how climate change impacts, or how climate change affects our life and our community's life as well. So it was really great an opportunity for me as from Sudan just to participate in the international conference, and particularly the time for the truth, because I live in areas where people lost their cattle and lost their lands, and also there were a massive conflict due to scarcity over the natural resources. So they try to survive, but the natural resources decline gradually according to many factors. And one of these factors are the climate change. So we need to be together. We need to support each other, the different communities. We need to also strengthen our resilience towards better environment, also towards a creative society, a model society that combat different environmental and also human-made problems or crises worldwide.
Yes, thank you very
so much.
much.
Yes, thank you, Badraldin.
Yes, I would like just to add 2 words, if I may, because you mentioned about the less developed countries, but our experience and connecting to people across the world, what we see that climate doesn't choose which country to hit next. It doesn't know any borders. That it doesn't matter how economically developed the country is, because we are equally unprepared to what is happening right now.
Yeah, of course. Yes.
Because we live in consumer society. This is the society that differentiate more or less, bigger, smaller, but we are equally unprepared.
Yeah, and also the uneven distribution of the wealth also make people dispute and conflict over the scarcity of the natural resources. And for that reason, they try, most of the people, for instance, in eastern part of the country, their lands also has been grabbed from the foreigners, investors. And also this is another issue that led them to involve in a massive conflict, tribal conflict, intertribal conflict, and all of these issues connected to the investment or foreigners' investment in their lands. And they didn't care even about the environment and how their activities affect the natural environment and also affect the indigenous people. And no one cared about their rights, just to see this issue and how they could also trying to explain the huge impact on their communities. And we know some developmental projects in the country also affect people's lives, and they lose their health. And there is a lot of issues can be also mentioned here, this conference.
And just to add to that, Badraldin, that seeing you as an eyewitness and seeing people from other, even countries which we consider developed countries, we see that everyone is equal in face of the cataclysm, because people are equally unprepared to see the houses being destroyed, the catastrophes taking away people's lives in every country in the world. It doesn't matter how developed the economical level or how wealthy the person is. There is no bunker and no house that can be so-called cataclysm proof in this case. And there is one video which I would like us all to watch right now, which illustrates what kind of things we're dealing with right now and what's going to be even more escalated in the future. Please, let's watch this video.
So we just seen the short, impression of how big the climate is and how difficult the situation is, how less understood these processes are. And many, are arguing what is the real cause of it, of the climate changes. What we see that there are a lot of misleading informations and false theories about the impact of CO2 that is, putting our attention away. But there is really a big issue that cannot be ignored, and these are the eyewitnesses. I know that now people in this particular moment are observing the climate change not from the screen of the TV, but in front of their eyes. And this is something that cannot leave us just to be indifferent. So, Zahraa, I know that you have something to add from your point, from your also perspective to this issue.
Well, I would like to mention the impact of climate change on Egypt. So, Egypt has been recently witnessing unfamiliar weather patterns, including colder winters with temperatures dropping to unprecedented degrees and summers with Gulf-like heat. Since the beginning of this winter, Egypt has been witnessing repeated waves of cold. Some governorates were covered with snow, something that we are not accustomed to have here in Egypt. We used to feel wind activity for around 2 days at most, but now it extends for longer time due to climate change. from an ecological, or you can say a biological point of view, like any other country, climate change threatens the biodiversity here in Egypt. We have a list of endangered fauna and flora because of climate change. According to a study, Egypt is one of the countries that may face the risk of losing more than 90% of its income from coral reef tourism because of climate change, as these coral reefs live in temperatures ranging between 25 and 40 Celsius. And in case the temperature exceeds this limit, the reefs are exposed to bleaching and death. So another thing that Egypt may face, seaside tourists would avoid visiting Egypt in summer because of the increased temperatures in summer. Therefore, climate change would have a negative impact on the tourism industry, which is one of the most important sources of income for a lot of families here in Egypt.
And I think, thank you very much. Thank you very much for this information. And from your first account opinion, I think there are much more consequences and much more unpredicted, chains of events that these all cataclysms will bring with them to each country. And now in the consumer society, we see that we are completely unprepared. We have this big issue and big problem with adaptation to the climatic events. So, Badraldin, I would like to ask you, since you also were sharing at the previous conference as an eyewitness what you are observing in Sudan, but what is regarding the surviving in cataclysms? So, how the people are confronted with these events now, and why we are actually unprepared, from your opinion?
Okay. So far, I can just quoted the WHO at the last report from them. They said that due to the climate change incidents, the 8 million of the Sudanese will lose their foods in the end of this year, and according also to political issues in Sudan. But so far, people prepare themselves to face any climate change issues or crisis, depends on their indigenous knowledge. But officially, there is no, or there is any kind of early warning system for the local communities, just to know this year will be, for instance, the shortages in rainfall, and you have to prepare yourself. And also the government sometimes miss to deliver or to offer information for the agrarian or people who come. But people in their with their communities, they have a knowledge to use different kind of seeds that has an high, for instance, ability to adapt with drought, for instance. So we also conducted a survey in Kordofan states, 3 states in Sudan. So, and whenever we ask them how you are going to survive if the drought is being severe, and how your coping strategies regarding climate change. And they say that sometimes they trying to verifying their cultivation land, just they use different kind of seeds or crops. The crops that more resistant to drought and more resistant even to severe rainfall, because we have also fluctuations in rainfall in some areas. Last autumn, the rainfall season started earlier and it ends before it's supposed to be ended. So most of the people lost their agriculture. The productivity and also production of their feddans, for instance, were less than it was in the 5 years past or ago. So they feel that they are not able to even secure their food, and they trying to have another or alternative way. And one of these alternative things they used to move, like to migrate from their villages to cities. to find another job or to support themselves or their family by providing some foods and other stuff. So people, they have their own coping strategies, but officially there is a gap in the way of people or the government also dealing with the climate change issues. We also miss some climatology records, for instance, or weathering records. All of these things we need to also to build a good database for the country in order to be spread out or just distributed out to the communities in order to be aware about the climate change. Even in our surveys, the grasp knowledge about the climate change. They don't know what's the climate change, but we are trying to simplify these terms, the use of crops and how the Sudan produce, they understand the climate change and how it impacts. And they just trying to simplify it in some words. They said that the production in this year is not like the 5 or 10 past years. And also they sometimes said that they have a scarcity in the water resources in their areas, and particularly those using hafir, for instance, like spots for saving water in the rainy season for the dry season. So they said that these hafirs depleted earlier according to the higher degree of the temperature in the dry season. So all of these incidents and all of these examples reflects a huge impact of the climate on those communities or on those people. And sometimes people also tell stories about their cattle. Their cattle also gradually declining because they lost even the grazing system. So they were dependent on the natural grazing system, and due to the massive drought, they lost the grazing areas, and they said that we even lost our livestock because they don't have any alternative just to feed their livestock, and even the food is more expensive just to buy it from the local or international market. And also this is one of the problems that the local communities face. And whenever you lost your livelihoods, you might be in danger. And also it also made a massive conflict because people trying to compete over the scarce resources. If it either land, grazing areas, and or water resources areas.
Let me comment a little bit because it was very interesting to find out that how much your country is being affected even by such thing as changes in the rain seasons. And what we just saw this year, what was terrifying and should be all over the planet, the main news that in the South Pole, we have 40 degrees Celsius above normal. And North Pole, we have 30 degrees above Celsius, which means that all the models of predicting how the weather behaves are not working anymore. The models that used to be our patterns of prediction, how the rain season, the snow season, the temperature season, they simply fail. And the question people asking is, how does creative society helps with it? What can creative society do? And I would like to answer this question, which we hear so much often. So first of all, creative society is a project that has been lasting for over a decade, where people created these 8 pillars of the creative society by asking people what unites them, what kind of society that they would like to live in. And that took over 10 years of interviewing people all over the world and understanding what we have in common, what unites us, and what is the single goal that we all can achieve together. And there are 3 very simple steps of implementation of the project. This is a very practical project which can change everything if we want it. So people asking what exactly creative society can do to help us cope with the disasters. So Creative society is a unification of people, but namely, it is unification of our intellectual resources, of our humanity, of our scientific potential and technological potential. So in creative society, as opposition to consumer society in which we live today, where everything is me, greed, money, profit. So in creative society, everything for benefit of the others. But when we improve the life for the others, we improve it for ourselves as well, but it works so much better. So in that case, when technology is working for the benefit of all of the people, and information is not being hidden as it is today for the benefit of elites of one or another country, information is open and transparent, and therefore conditions are being created for all of us to know the information and to predict where which cataclysm is going to happen, what's it going to affect, which territories, which people, and unified system of rescuing people, right? Today we waste in resources of having local military forces, local enforcements, local services. But imagine if we can actually, as a civilization, unite our resources and create a service that would help worldwide people. We know something's happened over there. We send our helicopters, ships. We can just save human lives because this is the highest value in the creative society. And this changes everything. Unification. It's a simple word, but it means a lot. It can really change. And that's what we really want. Let me pass the word to Tonya. Let's see.
Yes, I would like, thank you very much. Also, from my side, I would like to add regarding the question how the creative society will help us to overcome these global cataclysms. So, for example, today most of the disasters, big disasters, cannot be predicted. So that because warning systems also not working as they should, or not always also enough rescuers in the places, and they simply cannot get to hard to reach areas where people have to be evacuated. And after the disasters, it sometimes takes years for people to rebuild their infrastructure in the city, to build the housing and find the jobs. In the creative society, all of this can be avoided because science will not develop the new lethal weapons with a speed of 27 Mach. Can you imagine just that? What we're doing right now in the times of global cataclysms, inventing new weapons, how stupid it is and actually unbelievable. But instead, we will improve the methods of predicting the cataclysms and those means of warning the population about the events. What we also will have the cataclysm-resisting infrastructure that will be built. And single response and rescue service will minimize the risk of loss of human life, because there will be unlimited and technical capabilities and a lot of human resources that will really help to survive, to save the human lives. And, all these resources will be aimed to prevent all of this, and rather than dealing with consequences as we have it now in the consumer society. Also, in a short time possible, it will be, just very simple to build the housing. We have technologies like 3D printers that are not available in the consumer society today. So instead of it, we have shelters that are not cold resistant, and people are like freezing to death. That we saw it in Syria this year. So we have all the technologies to deal with it. We just need the right conditions, and this is actually where we as people, we as majority, come into this game to say, hey guys, we are not okay with it. We really want solutions. And, this beginning with the step of information. So you can learn more on the website creativesociety.com about the steps. So we are now already on the first step, and how quickly we will come to the concrete solutions that will be really visible and rescuing the human lives. this is up to us. So let's do it together, and please join the project.
Thank you, Tony. And let me ask my next question to Zahraa. What, in your opinion, would be such an option for humanity in the face of global threats of climate disasters? What do you think we should do as a humanity to actually overcome these challenges?
Well, thank you for giving me the floor one more time. From my point of view, I think that first and foremost, we need to pass binding laws to protect refugees. People who are forced to cross the borders because of floods, drought, or sea level rise often find closed borders and little assistance, despite the fact that some of them come from poor regions that have contributed little to global warming. For example, in 2020, one of the most industrialized governments refused to grant asylum to people claiming to be climate refugees and denied that it had any intention to recognize escaping from climate change as a reason for obtaining asylum. The refugee situation shows very clearly the crisis of modern-day society, where money is valued above human life. People who have migrated from other countries are often looked upon as the dregs of the society. However, if we pay attention to global climate change, it's obvious that any one of us could be a refugee tomorrow. Billions of people will move in search for a safe place to survive when natural disasters hit their homes. What I really appreciate about Creative Society is the fact that it's a holistic project. I mean, it is not only dedicated to climate change and natural disasters, but it also takes into consideration the spiritual and moral qualities of the society. Human beings should be rich in spiritual and moral qualities. We need to respect each other. We need respect for all people. And since we are all in this together, we need to help and support each other. And here I'd like to stress that there's nothing else on earth that would be more valuable than human life. That's why scientific, industrial, and technological activities of the society should be aimed exclusively at improving the quality of human life. Education should be equally accessible to all people, and in this regard, we need to start with young people in early ages. We need to teach them to appreciate and welcome the diversity of human race by exposing them to other cultures. And therefore, we will have an adult who respects and welcomes other nationalities. We need to teach them how to find joy in caring for others as well. This is part and parcel of the educational process.
I couldn't agree more, because this is indeed the holistic view on how many challenges we will just put out of the table, because we will, deal with the root of the problem, not with the consequence. And we have today indeed the numbers of crisis. It is geopolitical crisis, economical crisis, the crisis of humanity, actually, and the climate crisis. So they are all, the challenges that we have today. We need one big solution, the global one. And today we have indeed enough resources, but what we are observing, they're just not good distributed. They just put out of the place. And we would like also to ask Badraldin that I know that you have also personal experience with this issue, and I would like also to have your opinion on how it will look differently in the creative society, how we will treat these problems in creative society, from your opinion.
Well, thank you also so much for writing these important questions. We are really in the world of even uneven distributed of the resources. And also we just to come up with the creative solutions, and it is better first to formulate, for instance, a brief policy regarding countries. Then we have to unify this brief policy regarding those crises in order to be just one policy for the globe. And this also, it consider different a cultural, it could be like a policy which is sensitive to cultural diversity, sensitive to different governmental systems, sensitive to our communities as well. So to come up with this policy, we need more effort from the creative society, first to share a different, for instance, different experience of the globe, and how we could overcome with one policy for the whole globe. And maybe the educational system for all and the equal educational system for all will be also one of the solutions for different countries, and the raising the awareness about the climate change and the climate issues globally. Secondly, I think that if we have a policy that more flexible, and also it could be accessible for the globe population, it also could enhance our capability as communities to combat this crisis, if it be like human crisis, economical crisis, or climate change crisis. So we need to know first the cause, the causative or the causality of the climate change globally, and who contributes on this issue, and who consume the impact of the climate change, and how we could come up with the policies that make a balance, for instance, or it didn't forget anyone behind this policy. It could also solve everyone interest, or international community or global community interest, not just focusing on, for instance, developed country, or not just focus on developing country as well. It could be for the globe, and this is also, it might be a very challenges for the creative society, because it could face a lot of political issues to formulate this kind of policy, because it might not be also trusted by governments. It might not be trusted by communities. So we need also to have a background about this policy, and also background about global crises and global issues that affect people's lives. Then after that, we could also consult local communities about their own knowledge, their own understanding about those issues. Then we could come up with unified solutions to solve the global problems.
Yes, Badraldin, very good point. And for those who think that, providing education for everyone in the world on a good quality level would be too difficult or complicated, I would like to remind that according to the United Nations studies, it would take 3 days of military budget of our world to provide free, high quality of education for every child, every person of school age in the world. 3 days. But somehow our elites find it difficult. But they find it not difficult to raise the military budget each year to provide more weapons against us, ordinary civilians from one country or another. Maybe it tells something about what they're really looking for and what they are not looking for to provide educated people around the globe. And I would like to also remind to all our viewers that right now, in this very point of our civilization that we live, this is the best time to make a change, because right now we still have all our resources better than at any point before. We have technologies that we never had before. We really have everything to provide the best care of our future, for our children, for ourselves, and invest these resources into building amazing world, paradise on earth. But as we look further, if we don't do nothing, look at the growing cataclysms, at the ratios. Just look outside the window, outside your doorstep, and you will see that it is difficult to plan anything if we don't change the core, if we don't change our goal, because our future is really not defined, and our savings are daily eaten by inflation. So we think we spend something for tomorrow, but tomorrow our money cannot buy us the same what they could buy yesterday. And we are one step away from a huge global economical disaster, which is already starting. I think it's obvious for everyone to see. And huge geopolitical crisis. Our world, which was globalizing, is falling apart into small zones, and they making big tensions, let's call it this way, in our world. But all of this, it not even the biggest problem. The worst problem is the climate crisis, which is leading to huge global climate catastrophe. Because if politicians can negotiate with one another, no one can negotiate with climate crisis. No one can pay money to tornado or volcano for it to stop erupting, or to the earthquake for it to just not occur. That doesn't happen. We don't have the technologies right now. And this is why we have to invest our resources into building these technologies that would save our lives of our children. And the most important investment that any of us can do is the investment into building the creative society where human life is on the first place, in which there will be no crisis or other shocks, because people will be protected and have the feeling of confidence in tomorrow. Let's watch this one video, which will explain a little bit more about it. Friends, I would like to, first of all, thank both of you for coming here and being with us today. You've been amazing, and it's so great to see that Creative Society unites such wonderful people from around the globe. And I would like to let each one of you to say some final words and let us know what would you think should be the message that we leave to our generation, and why it is so important right now for everyone to understand the real causes of the climate change and to unite in one solution, building the society in which human life is on the first place, the really prosperous, safe, creative society for each one of us to live in. Zahraa, let's start with you.
Yes. Yes, as I previously mentioned, that we need to act together, we need to collaborate, we need to unite together for the sake of humanity. Climate change is we are all in this together. Climate change will not discriminate. So we need to spread information about the climatic disasters. We need to unite and collaborate together for the best advantage of humanity.
Thank you very much. So, Badraldin, would you like to add something from your point, the message to other people?
Okay, really, we need to be more collaborative in terms of climate change and global issues. As we know, we are more connected than it was before. The world become more connected than it was before. Even if there is a crisis in any part of the world, we also witnessed and also feel it here in the global south of the world. So we need to be more resilient to those issues. We need to just unite it. We need to help each other. We need to collaborate in order to combat the global issues in the world. And we need to live in the world that is more stable and more productive, and also more even ambitious for our future generation. And also we need to let people know our efforts just to combat the crisis, natural crisis, and also human-made crisis. Just be together, made an effort, feel these issues by yourself, also and by your family. Because if you are not affected now, you might be affected in the future, or your children might be affected in the future. So do it now before the time is just come. And thank you so much.
Thank you, dear Zahraa. Thank you, Badraldin, and all people who wish this international discussion. Thank you for your contribution to our big initiative, Creative Society, to our future. Because today, indeed, we have the last war of humanity, and this is the war against the climate. And this is the highest time to mobilize all of our potential, all of our resources to find together the solution. And this is up to us. So in the climate disaster, there is no foreigners. There is the next person next to you is the one that your life can depend on. So that is our task today, to inform our next ones, our colleagues, friends, relatives, and people that we might don't know, but we are all connected. So this our big step towards the solution starts with the information. So please share this international discussion, share the information about Creative Society, and join this project. Together we can find the solution, and we are able of impossible today. Thank you.
Yes, and then less than a month, we're going to have this very important strategic step for all of the mankind, the forum, international forum, global crisis. We, the people, we want to live. And we invite everyone. Do not be indifferent, because this is your future too. And it's your choice to decide the fate of entire civilization. So join, spread the word, and join the ranks of true heroes of the modern day. As Zahraa in the very beginning quoted Martin Luther King, everyone can be great. And this is the best thing each one of us can do. Little step to save the mankind, the humankind. So we'll meet you at the next international discussion, and thank you all for being with us. See you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. The pleasure was all mine.